The basic skill, your primary resource generator as you level up your first or maybe alternative character in Diablo 4. It has been your staple on the bar since you started the game, but at what point does it become obsolete? When does this basic skill just end up taking away from the possible skills your character can use? Well, in this video, we're going to talk about basic skills and how they can fall off as your primary resource generator as you crest into the mid to late portions of the game. If you're leveling, watching this video, wondering if you should take your basic skill away, nay, this is really only going to serve you beyond a certain point, which we'll talk about. I'll break this conversation up per individual class so you can just simply navigate to the class you'd like to hear about the most using the chapters in both the timeline and the description. If this is your first time on my channel, the way I do things is by upfronting the knowledge within my videos so you can decide if it's the right one for you. So, with that being said, your basic skills are going to start working against you right as you start to get comfortable in Torment. Your build or class might actually rely on your basics, so Arclash Sorcerers, Tornado Werewolf Druid, Rogues, and Reap Necros. This video ain't for you. But basically, you want to ensure you have the passives, the resource aspects on your rings, Paragon points, affixes, and supporting skills to turn your basic from a resource generator into something that adds utility for your build. Take Stormstrike for Druids. It'll always be useful because it provides 25% damage reduction. The spirit gained is just nice to have. But really, that's it. That's the general gist of the video. Too long didn't watch, as it were. If that's all you wanted to know, please feel free to shut the video down unless you want to hear more about the other details or need more information. If you are heading out, please don't forget to like, comment, and or subscribe. Each one of those things does truly help me out in a very, very huge way. Also, I have a massive playlist filled with all of my guides and how-tos for Diablo 4 linked in the description, as well as at the end of the video if you need help with other subjects. Lastly, please don't forget to follow me on Twitch, where I will be streaming Diablo 4 pretty much all week with the brand new drops. Let's get started here on when you should stop using basic skills in Diablo 4. So the first character I want to talk about here is Barbarian. And the Barbarian uses Lunging Strike for specific builds, and it's quite good, right? I'm not going to talk about Ren builds, I don't know them very much, but I do know quite a bit about Hoda and Whirlwind. And Lunging Strike changes as you level. Once you get into that end game, and when I'm saying end game for all the characters we're talking about, I'm really like level 70 plus. That's when you're going to notice that it's time to start getting a little additional utility in your skill bar. And Lunging Strike will act as a movement ability once you get to that point, and less of an actual fury generator. And on top of it, you'll get some additional utility from all of the basics that you might keep in your build. But basically at that point, you're not using it for the fury generation. And I think that's why a lot of people keep their basic skills around, because they think, how do I get my resource back? Well, we're going to go through some of that here. So, you've got Lunging Strike, but you level up Rallying Cry. This is going to help out with resource generation through the roof. You're going to go ahead and look at stuff like Prolific Fury. While Berserking Fury generation is increased, and Enhanced Warcry gives you the ability to berserk on demand. You also get Wrath of the Berserker, which is going to help out substantially in your Fury generation. And those are just your skills. You have so many ways to generate things. Generate Fury in your build in your ring aspect slot. Your shout skills now act as a fury battery, right? So they give you fury per second while active. That is absolutely huge for you. And then every single class gets access to their respective resource things, but aspect of the Umbral, restore 1 to 4 of your primary resource when you crowd control an enemy. All these different ways that you can actually stack tons of fury, tons of resource. So if you're playing a barb that is using Lunging Strike, and you're starting to get into that later game, and you're wondering why I'm not having as fun or as much effectiveness, it might be time to remove Lunging Strike and use a different movement ability. Because like I said, the builds that do retain Lunging Strike, it's in lieu of a movement, and you could just simply use Leap if you wanted to, or Charge if you wanted to. But my point is that you're using Lunging Strike not as a Fury generator, but as a movement ability. Moving on to Druid, we have a pretty unique case. Now, the majority of the Druid basic abilities are actually very good, especially Stormstrike, right? Where it is a damage reduction, a 25% damage reduction. If you're using the pulverized build, you're probably using Fierce Maul here or Wild Maul, but then you'll switch over to Earth Spike for the pulverized build. So There are a lot of instances where you do actually retain your basic. And again, the point of this video here is not to say that your basic will always be something you'll remove, but it's more that the basic is no longer this sole resource generator for you. It now uses all the utility that it offers, especially too as you kind of go down this tree. You get access to innate blood howl, which now will give you spirit. You start getting into plenty of your resource rings that will now again add more spirit into your build depending on what it is, and you still have, as always, the generic things like Aspect of the Umbral, which I've said so many times and I will continue to say throughout this entirety of this video. I hope it makes you upset. But you also start to crack into your Paragon board too, and that's something I didn't really talk much about in the Barbarian section. And you start getting access to affixes. These things are going to drastically change your spirit demand as you progress through your Druid build, but stuff like the utility of your 25% DR on Stormstrike is just never going to change. That is always going to be a very valuable skill. So you really have to weigh what kind of build you're doing with every class, especially stuff like the Druid, right? If you even go into like Perfect Storm here, Storm Seals that grant 1 spirit, deal 50% increased damage. So you're looking at your spirit now as a way to boost your damage by spending more of it. So it's that spirit is not so linear that it once was when you were leveling. That's probably the most crucial thing to take away here. Now, my personal favorite, we have the Necromancer. Of all the builds, the only real basic that is ever used is Reap. And you get damage reduction from this. You can progress it into actually giving you corpses. It has quite a bit of utility locked into it. So a shadow build, a bone build, there's a lot of different ways you can be putting Reap into your build, and it's useful for pretty much all of them. But the other three drop in their usefulness quite quickly, especially as you realize that you just need to pull more utility from the rest of your skills. Take, for example, my blood build, which you can find in the right-hand corner. I only have the 2 points in hemorrhage to unlock the rest of the tree. We spend our points on Blood Surge. We spend time into Corpse Explosion. We bring online Blood Mist. We have 1 curse. We use Corpse Tendrils, and we use Blood Wave. So I think a Necromancer, and the next class we talk about is probably even a better example, is a class that really doesn't benefit at all from retaining its basics beyond Reap for all the utility. The rest of them don't really have that built-in utility that you get with Reap as you push into the latter portions of the game. And on top of it too, there are plenty of ways to make your consumption of corpses or the blood orbs that come from those corpses an even further resource battery for you using aspects or passives. And that is another big reason that you're no longer using these basics as an essence generator for you while playing the Necromancer. For the Sorcerer, our basics are pretty interesting. You have a build solely built off of the basic, which is, I think, actually pretty unique. I think no other class has a build solely built around their basic like you do with the Arclash Sorcerers. That's the only class that has that, I think. But outside of that, the Sorcerer has something unique with its enchantments, right? Where putting points into something allows you to use this enchantment ability. Well, almost all builds take those obligatory 2 points that they have to spend in the build to turn on the rest of the tree in Firebolt. And this way, direct damage from skills applies additional burning damage over 8 seconds. And then you pull into your passive section, which Pyromancy deals 3% increased damage while you're healthy. That's not really an important thing here. This is the big one. Yes, it is. You deal 10% increased crit strike damage against burning enemies. If they are also immobilized, this bonus is increased to 25%, and that scales. So that is such a huge damage increase to your build that you're not putting the actual bolt on your ability bar. You're only using it for the enchantment slot that you then will take more core and defensive cooldowns, especially defensive cooldowns, because you have another source of resource in Prodigy's Aspect, a really, really good codex aspect that you get. Using a cooldown restores 15 to 25 mana. That is absolutely awesome for you, because if you're using 3 separate cooldowns, which most builds do, right? They use Ice Armor, they're going to use Teleport, and they're going to use Soup Frost Nova. They've got a Vuln on command. You get mana regen with your Ice Armor too, and you have your Teleport, which is just amazing, right? So all 3 of those, if you roll the lowest on Prodigy's Aspect, that is 45 total mana. So just tons of ways to get lots of resource with the Sorcerer, so that unless you're going Arclash, you're using it for its enchantment capabilities, or it being Firebolt. Rogue basics, on the other hand, are different from all the other classes, because unlike the other classes, your basics are no longer resource generators, but they are part of your combo system. And on top of it, puncture is used in almost every build. It gives you slow, it gives you energy, it gives you a resource for vulnerable on things, or putting vulnerable on things, so it's a really awesome ability. Or my pen shot rogue uses forceful arrow to trigger 3 combo points to then use pen shot. So your basics on rogue are different, and you'll probably never get rid of them on your bar if you're going with the combo points route. With that being said, too, when you look into the energy aspect of a rogue, and again, remember, rogue's basics are different. They're not being used here to generate energy. They're being used for utility or unlocking your combo points. But as you progress down the tree, energy stops becoming as big of a concern for you, because you just have so many ways to do this, right? So many ways to generate some additional energy, especially if I take a look at shadow imbuement, like consuming shadows. Each time you kill an enemy with shadow damage, you generate 10 energy. There's just so many ways to either have energy gained for you, or to turn your energy's depletion or surplus into a boon for you, like haste. While at or above 50% max energy, gain increased movement speed, while below max energy, gain 5% increased attack speed, which again scales for you. So when you're taking a look at rogue, you're looking at this, how it fits into your build from a mechanical standpoint, and less so from a resource gathering standpoint, which is unique from all the other 5 classes, who have to kind of look at it as an early resource generator until they eventually move off of it. So by and large, this video really won't apply to you if you're solely playing a rogue character. But again, this video is aimed more at exploring the viability of your basic skill over time. And at that, it brings our video here to a close. So again, you're hopefully looking at your basic a little bit differently now. You're not looking at it as the skill that needs to occur for resource generation. Hopefully now you're taking a look at it and saying, okay, well, what's the utility this brings to my build? How do I use my basic to serve me in a way that's going to help with my damage or help with my survivability as I crest into Torment and beyond? Again, if you're playing level 1 through 50 and stopping, or even 1 through 60 and stopping, then you're going to be just fine with your basic on your bar. But as you progress into those higher tier portions of the game, into the true end game, you have to start thinking of your basic no longer as that resource generator, but instead as that utility kind of one-upper for your build. If you have any questions though about your build, or how you can really wean yourself off of your basic, maybe you're using a blood necromancer and you're really struggling to remove hemorrhage from your bar, or whatever it is, by all means, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. More than happy to help out as best I can. And swing on by the streams. We'll be streaming pretty much every day this week, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Twitch. And you can say, hey, this is the build I've got. This is what I'm having trouble with. Can you fix me? Can you help me out with that? We will definitely take a look. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one, and take care.